recording now.
Woo!
Woo! Welcome back to the Project Gen X podcast. I am one of your hosts, Alan Smith, along with...
I am Big Dave.
In this episode, I have put something together that Dave has not seen. So
Yeah.
he was like, maybe I need to talk. I was like, nope, I'm going to take care of it, and then I'm just going to get your reactions to it, basically, is what it comes down to.
Yeah, he's done it to me again, folks.
And I'll be honest, I don't remember off the top of my head why I came up with this idea. There was something that I was watching some television show,
Yeah.
and was like thinking about different TV shows that exist that are either that are spinoffs or live in the same universe as other television shows.
Okay, so sort of like Mork and Mindy and Happy Days.
We'll get into that, yeah.
Okay.
But that kind of like the spinoffs,
Okay.
you know.
I see where you're headed with
But
this.
some of these are not spinoffs. They're just shows that are connected. They live in the same universe,
Okay.
type stuff. And we'll get out. I'm going to start off doing just straight up spinoffs
Yeah.
to begin with.
Okay.
And I'm going to do this a little bit in a trivia
Oh, boy.
type way.
Okay. You're going to embarrass me again.
I'm going to start with All in the Family.
All in the Family.
Oh, how many spinoffs does this show have?
If I remember right, there was at least 2.
Oh, you're way off.
I'm way off? I can think of 2 right off the top of my head.
There are 6.
6 spinoffs of this?
Maybe 7, depending on how you look at it.
Because I know the Jeffersons.
Okay. The Jeffersons, because George and Louise Jefferson were next door neighbors to Archie Bunker.
Yeah.
Archie and Edith. And then they spun that off.
Before they moved to...
And then they moved on up to the east side, yeah. And so it was, before they moved up to the east side, they lived on Hauser Street. But, okay, there's that one.
Yeah.
And then there was Maude.
Oh, I forgot about
Which is funny
Maude.
I say that because that's actually how the theme song went, and then there was Maude. Okay, so that was B. Arthur. She was one of Edith's friends, or I think she was a friend or something, but it was one of those things where she was like polar opposite of Archie Bunker.
Yeah.
Like, whereas he was like this raging, conservative, Republican, she was...
No. He was a flat-out racist.
Well, he was a racist, but she was a...
Yeah, he
was a liberal Democrat. Like,
Yeah.
blah, blah. Here's the fun thing.
Yeah.
She had a maid at one time.
Okay.
Whose name was Florida.
Flo.
No. Well, yes, but that show was Good Times that spun off of that.
Oh, okay.
Florida. What were their names? It was Evans. It was it was the Evans family.
Yeah.
Florida Evans was their maid.
Okay.
So that show spun off, and that's why I say that mine had, counting that a spinoff of a spinoff.
Yeah.
That gets it to 7.
Okay.
Okay. Here are the other ones. So we had Maude, the Jeffersons, Gloria, which was like only a 1 year. It was Gloria. They spun her off into her own.
I don't
her
even
own
remember
show.
that show.
Her and Meathead got divorced, and she
Okay.
had her own show. Then when All in the Family ended, they picked up with Archie Bunker's Place, where it was one of those things where Jean, what was her name? Edith had left the show. They actually killed her off that was the whole thing. She had died.
Yeah.
And so Archie had opened a bar, I think it was. That's why it's called Archie Bunker's Place, so it was kind of it was a continuation. And then there were 2 other ones that I did not know about that I have nothing. One of them is called Checking In.
I don't remember that one.
And the other one is 704 Hauser Place. Now, I'm almost positive that 704 Hauser Street is their
Address?
the address they lived at. And I think what it was is there was another family that moved into that. So it was kind of the house, the set was the same and everything, but it was a whole new family.
So the house itself was a character.
Right, pretty much. So that's 7.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. That's not even going to begin to hit the most spun off show of all time.
You're kidding, really?
Oh, when I get there, it's going to be just down the rabbit hole further and further and further.
Does it have anything to do with Carol Burnett?
No.
Really?
Carol Burnett, that's actually an interesting one because I didn't have it on here, but the Carol Burnett show spun off Mama's Family.
Yes, exactly.
Because Thelma Harper was a character that Vicki Lawrence played on Mama's Family.
Yeah.
Or on the Carol Burnett show, it was a reoccurring that would come around every once in a while, which is funny because I remember watching that show because there was an episode where Mama died. Where Thelma died, and they were at the wake, and that kind of stuff. And it was funny because, like, on Mama's Family, because Eunice was one of her, which was Carol Burnett, was one of her daughters, and she would appear on Mama's Family from time to time.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff I remember seeing from that episode that was revealed after her quote unquote death wound up in an episode of Mama's Family when she was still very much alive, So that was I'm glad you mentioned that because I almost Cheers.
Yeah.
How many spinoffs?
I want to say 4.
No, it only has 2.
Okay.
Of course, Frasier. Everybody knows Frasier.
Frasier.
But
there was one with Woody Harrelson though.
No,
I thought there was.
Mm-mm. The Tortellis was the other one.
Oh, that's right.
That was Carla's ex-husband and his new wife.
Yeah.
That they spun off that lasted, I think it was like 6 or 8 episodes or something like that. It didn't last long at all.
Well, it's because Carla wasn't there.
Right. I'm going to come back to some of these because there's more to. Okay. I'm not even going to ask how many spinoffs does this one have because it's really just one. Dallas has a spinoff. And I'm not talking about the new Dallas that came on,
No,
years
we're
later.
talking about
Knots Landing.
Yeah.
It was a spinoff of
that's
Dallas.
right.
The Golden Girls had 2 spinoffs, potentially 3.
Okay.
They spun off Empty Nest.
Okay.
And Empty Nest spun off Nurses.
I don't remember either of those shows.
But then there was The Golden Palace that was a spinoff after the show ended. B. Arthur was gone, but the other 3 came back, and they had opened a hotel. They were running a hotel. So that was the spinoff on that. Okay. Hold on. Let me just okay. Let me see if Happy Days. How many spinoffs do they have?
Oh, we got Mork and Mindy. We've got Laverne and Shirley.
That's 2 so far. There's one more obvious one that you're going to be like, what?
Mork and Mindy, Laverne and Shirley.
Somebody Loves Somebody.
Joni Loves Chachi. I almost forgot about that one.
That's 3.
There's one more.
Actually, there's 2 more. You're not going to get them.
Thanks
because
because
I had no clue.
Yeah,
and I watched all of these shows.
Yeah,
Blank Sees Beauties. I have no idea, and another one called Out of the Blue.
Okay,
no idea.
Yeah.
Okay. I think Out of the Blue is actually a Mork and Mindy spinoff.
Okay,
is what it is. I think that's what we're getting into. Home Improvement has 1 spinoff.
Home Improvement has a spinoff.
And and this is one of those where you're going to be like, what?
Okay, give it to me.
It's called Buddies.
Buddies?
Yes. Here's the thing. You want to know who are the 2 stars?
Okay.
Jim Brewer and Dave Chappelle.
What?
They were in an episode of Home Improvement where they came on the show.
Okay.
They were, and they were getting advice from Tim about women or something like that. And the thing is that, because it's Jim Brewer and Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
And the studio, they got such good feedback from the studio. They're like, hey, let's spin this off into its own show that only lasted like 6 or 8 episodes or something like that.
That would be worth watching.
Yeah. Okay.
Dude, I just saw where they canceled the Joe Rogan, Dave Chappelle show that was supposed to be coming to town.
Oh, because of the
COVID.
Everything's canceled right now. I know. MASH had
how
many spinoffs?
Had it was Trapper John MD.
Oh, you got it. Nice. That's the one most people forget. Okay.
There was another one where Colonel Potter had a show. It was a hospital,
as well as some other people.
Yeah, it was something hospital.
It was After MASH. Is what it's called.
After MASH.
It was him and Klinger and Father McCahey who were in the show. Now, there's another one that I think they did a pilot that actually did air.
Okay.
But it didn't go anywhere. It was called Walter. It was about radar.
Oh, I think I remember seeing that. Yeah.
Okay.
How do people not get Trapper John MD?
Well, here's the thing: is that Technically, Trapper John MD is a MASH spinoff.
Yes.
But it's a spinoff from the movie, not the television show. Well, Trapper John MD was a medical drama. It wasn't a comedy.
Yeah.
So but that was the character, Trapper John. This was him
after the war,
the 80s.
Yeah.
He was much older. It was a whole different. It was a different person. It wasn't Wayne Brady or Wayne. Not Wayne Brady. It was Wayne. What was his last name? Oh God, I can't remember. It wasn't the guy that played him. It was an older actor playing that character, but it was technically, literally, that was one of the things that I remember, like that it being the same character. But when I was reading up on it, they said that it was technically a spinoff of the movie, of the character from the movie rather than from the TV shows. And
what else you got? Come on.
How many shows spun off of Matlock?
Matlock?
Yeah, the Andy Griffith lawyer show.
Yeah.
Okay, the Down Home lawyer show. There are 2.
There's 2?
2. One of them, you're going to be like, oh, okay, and the other one, you're going to be like, what?
I'm going to go with Walker, Texas Ranger.
No.
I have no idea. Hit me.
The one you're going to be like, okay, that makes sense. Remember Diagnosis Murder?
No.
Yeah, with Dick Van Dyke, where he was a medical examiner, and it was on for like years.
No,
Again, it hit that same Matlock crew,
Yeah.
But here's the other one that spun off of that: Jake and the Fat Man.
Oh, I think I do remember that show.
That was the one I was like, really? I didn't realize Jake and the Fat Man was a spinoff of Matlock.
You put that one in there just because of Fat Man.
No, I did that because I was like, I couldn't believe, Come
on,
Tracy Ullman Show.
Simpsons.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, here we go. Who's the boss?
Who's the boss?
Tony Danza, Judith Light, Catherine Hellman, Alyssa Milano. What was the other guy? Piton, whatever. The Jonathan, whatever his real name was. How many?
There was at least one.
There were 2.
Okay.
Can you name them?
No.
Okay. I remember one of them.
Okay.
There's one called Living Dolls.
No.
Leah Remini was the lead in it because that was the whole thing. She was one of Sam's friends from back in New York who came there, and then she got they went to a modeling agency together.
Yeah.
And she got discovered to go and do this modeling gig, and so they spun her off into that. And then there was another one called The Upper Hand. I don't remember it completely, but I believe it was a Catherine Hellman spinoff, like Mona. After it didn't last very long.
Yeah.
Riverdale.
Well, you had Sabrina.
The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina,
which were on completely different.
They're different timelines. I know.
Josie and the Pussycats.
No, it's not Josie and the Pussycats.
What was the show that was based out of New York?
It's Katie Keene.
Katie Keene.
Yeah, which Josie's on that show, and it takes place years later, which just got canceled. We made it 1 season.
I can see that because my wife watched it, and I don't think she really dug it. And actually, the only connection between the CW's Riverdale and Netflix Sabrina was one of the minor serpents.
Yep, made a cameo in the other one and got killed.
Honestly, I think it would have been brilliant if they could have combined those two and actually had some decent crossover.
Okay. Growing Pains. What spun off of that?
Oh, I know there was one. I don't remember what it was.
Just the 10 of Us.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
It was the coach. Him and his family had moved.
Yeah.
Now,
okay, I remember that show now.
Here's an interesting bit of trivia for that one.
Yeah.
There were it's just the 2 parents and there were 8 kids. There were 4 older daughters.
Okay.
How many of them were in, of the 4 older daughters?
Okay.
How many of them were in a Nightmare on Elm Street movie?
2?
3.
3. Mm-hmm. Okay.
You had Heather Langenkamp.
Yeah.
She was Nancy. And
yeah.
Brooke Thies. She was in
third one?
Part 5.
Part 5? Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then I can't remember the other girl's name off the top of my head, but she was in one of the later ones as well.
Okay.
So there was 3 of them, and it was funny because there was in the very first episode, like the pilot episode of this, they get to their new house and they walk in, in the set, and it's all like no one has lived there in a long time, so it's all dusty and and just cobwebs everywhere. And there's a big butcher knife that's stuck in the middle of a table.
Yeah.
And Heather Langenkamp comes running in, and she runs over, and she's like, and she looks at the knife. She goes, "Oh, cool! It's like something out of A Nightmare on Elm Street."
No, that would be Friday the 13th with the butcher knife.
I know, but it was
or Halloween with the butcher knife.
She was, again, you get into the
reference.
Hold on, let me see what else I got here before we get. Okay. Okay. Perfect Strangers.
Perfect Strangers
has one spinoff. It was a very, very popular show in the 90s.
In the 90s?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember who was even in that show.
They had Perfect. They took place in Chicago. Perfect. You remember Perfect Stranger, Balky and Cousin Larry. And it's
okay.
So there was a woman. I'll give you that as a character.
Is it Mad About You?
No, this is TGIF. Okay.
TGIF.
She was the elevator attendant in the building they lived in, and they spun that character and her family off into a show that went on for a long time. Had a very famous catchphrase attached to it.
I'm totally blanking.
It was Harriet Winslow. Family Matters.
Oh my! I had no idea.
That show. That character Harriet Winslow was on that show. It was a recurring character, and then they spun that off into.
Did I do
Exactly. Okay, now. The X-Files.
Yes.
What was the spinoff?
It was the Lone Horseman.
Lone Gunman.
Lone Gunman.
Lone Horseman.
Yeah.
You're thinking of the Lone Rangers
I know.
from Airheads.
Yeah.
Let's see. Soap.
Soap was Benson.
Yes. Good. Okay. Married with Children.
Married with Children.
Technically, they had 3.
3?
Okay. The first one was called Top of the Heap.
Don't know that.
Okay. What it was that Matt LeBlanc was on an episode.
Yeah.
And he was dating Kelly. And he was a boxer.
Okay.
And his dad was a friend, like an old buddy of Al's.
Okay. So this show did absolutely nothing.
It was only on just a few, whatever. But it was one of those things where it premiered, and that was the whole thing. In the first episode, like Al's mad because he put a bunch of money on him to win this match, and they lost.
Yeah. And
he came to he's like, I'm gonna get this money. It was called Top of the Heap. Okay.
All right.
That show. Later, after it was canceled, they spun off another one called Vinny and Bobby, which starred Matt LeBlanc and that Vinny character again. They were still trying to make that a thing. It didn't go anywhere. But then they tried for a third one that really, they did what they call a backdoor pilot, where they'll center an episode around something. So what it was is when Bud went to college, he went to Tremaine College.
Yeah.
And Steve Rhodes was working there, because he had left years prior. He was the station manager at the radio station, and they tried to spin off a show called Radio Free Tremaine, which had someone who would go on to be popular later in the decade in her own show.
Okay,
that was Carrie Russell. And it's funny if you ever see the episode.
Yeah,
Bud is in the beginning of it.
Yeah.
And then he shows up later on in the episode. It really centers on her and these other 2 guys in the radio station. And it was one of those where you sit there and watch it and you go, why are none of the characters that I like in this? And it was like they were trying to spin it off, but it never got picked up beyond that. So Let's see. What else do I got here?
That's the reason I call it a backdoor pilot, because it's usually full of crap.
Here's a good one. Different Strokes.
Different Strokes. I know there was a spinoff. I just don't remember.
It was a very popular spinoff. One that you kind of have to take the good and take the bad.
Oh, Facts of Life.
Yes, because Mrs. Garrett.
Yeah, Mrs.
Garrett was their housekeeper, and then she went.
Yeah.
The Facts of Life. Designing Women.
Designing Women. There was something with Sugar Baker.
It was with Suzanne. Yes, it was. It was Women of the House, is what it was called.
That's what it was. Hold on a second.
The whole premise, because this was years after she left the show.
Yeah.
You know, the whole premise was that Suzanne had married a House of Representatives, and he died, and she took his place.
Yeah.
So it was literally like Women of the House, where she was a representative, which is like the scariest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me go through here and look, because the thing is from here we're going to get in. Well, okay. I have one more as far as just a straight up spinoff. Or no, not just okay. What do you think is the most spun off show of all time?
I have no idea at this point.
Okay. Most people would think it was All in the Family, because I said, there's 7 of them.
But you already said that wasn't even close.
I'm going to tell you this much: if I gave you 1,000 tries, you would not come up with this one, because it's a reality television show.
Okay.
The Surreal Life.
The Surreal Life.
Mm-hmm. You remember that one? It was like where they would get like B and C grade celebrities. They'd come and stay in a house for a week or whatever, and they'd do all different kinds of stuff.
Oh, it was on VH1.
It didn't start off on VH1. I think it started off on UPN or WB or one of those, and then it wound up going to
Okay.
So here's the thing. You have The Surreal Life.
Yes.
Okay. It spun off Strangelove.
Yes.
Which was Flava Flav and Brigitte Nielsen.
Yeah.
Because they became a couple and blah, blah, blah. That spun off Flavor of Love.
Flavor of Love.
Which spun off I Love New York, because New York was one of the contestants on there. Okay. Hold on, because we get into a rabbit hole
here. Surreal
here.
Life also, I think, was a spinoff with Bret Michaels.
Oh, whoa. No. We'll get there. Okay.
All right.
So all right. So
I Love New York.
I Love New York. Okay. Then there was I Love Money.
Okay.
Which was bringing a bunch of the contestants from different shows together.
Yeah.
Then there was Charm School, where they brought a bunch of the contestants from Flavor of Love in, which is really funny, because you know who hosted that show?
No.
Monique, who would go on to win an Oscar shortly after this. And I was like, when I was like, Monique wins the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress, like, well, you're telling me that the hostess of VH1's Charm School is an Oscar winner? The Surreal Life also spun off My Fair Brady, which was
I forgot about,
it was Adrian Curry and the guy that played Bobby Brady. You know who I'm talking about. It spun off Fame Games, which was kind of like they brought back different people from the different to compete, and stuff. And then it's the last season of it spun off the Salt and Pepper Show, because Peppa was on The Surreal Life. And then that spun off Let's Talk About Pep, which was just all about her. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, we got to go back.
Yeah.
Okay. So Flavor of Love spins off I Love New York.
Yeah.
I Love New York spins off, are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Real Chance at Love, Frank the Entertainer in a Basement Affair, New York Goes to Hollywood, New York Goes to Work, Real and Chance, Legend Hunters.
I don't remember half of those.
All of that spun off. Okay. I'm going to go down and give you just a run. Okay. Now, a spiritual successor, a spinoff of this was Rock of Love with Bret Michaels.
Yes.
Which spun off Rock of Love Bus, Daisy of Love, and Megan Wants a Millionaire. So out of The Surreal Life, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 shows came off of the Surreal Life.
You gotta love the trashy real life TV years of VH1 and MTV.
That is just bonkers. that show would spin off 18 shows. Okay.
It seems like in one of those Surreal Life episodes that Bret Michaels was on, they actually
he wasn't on the Surreal Life.
What was the one that he was? There was one where they had like Celebrity House or something like that.
Well, that was Surreal Life was that type of stuff, but Bret Michaels was not on that show.
There was one of them because they put the band and Bret Michaels was playing, but then they had all the other famous people playing all the other instruments.
Maybe he was on an episode of it. I don't know, but I mean, it was 18 shows off of one really mediocre reality show. I mean, it was just my goodness.
None of them lasted more than 2 seasons.
Oh no! That's not true.
What?
Flavor of Love went like 4 seasons or something like that.
That's what kills me about Flavor Flav. That guy is so weird, so over the top.
Rock of Love went multiple seasons.
The problem is that guy is an amazing musician.
I know, but
and was the major songwriter for most of Public Enemy stuff.
Okay, so now that we've done spinoffs,
okay, now what do we got?
Now we're going to get into some. We're getting ready to go into some rabbit holes here. Okay,
all right.
There are universes.
Yeah. Well, like the CW universes.
Something like that.
You've got the Green Lantern universe.
Right.
Yeah, Green Lantern, Flash.
See, I didn't even get into that because that's so... I'm talking about there are universes that people don't even realize. Okay. So, I'm just going to start right here.
Okay.
We went with Cheers, okay?
Yeah, Cheers.
All right. Outside of Cheers and his own spinoff, how many other television shows has the character of Frasier been on? Of Frasier Crane. Not Kelsey Grammer coming in and playing a Frasier-like character. Actual Frasier Crane.
Well, there's Cheers. There's Frasier. It seems like there was one show that his ex-wife was on full-time that he came over. No?
He's been on 3.
Okay.
As Frasier.
Okay.
He was on Wings, an episode of Wings. It was him and Lilith both. They came to Nantucket.
Oh, I think I vaguely remember that.
He came to do a seminar, and him and Lilith flew into the Nantucket.
Okay.
And it was Frasier and Lilith. It wasn't, he was on... He actually played Frasier on The Simpsons.
Okay.
He wasn't doing Sideshow Bob. He wasn't doing Kelsey Grammer. There was an actual
he's playing Frasier.
I'm listening, type thing. It was Frasier Crane. And then the John Larroquette show.
Oh,
was the same thing.
Well, that was a spinoff of Night Court.
No, it wasn't. No, that was
sure?
a whole. It wasn't Dan Fielding. It was a whole other thing, and it was years after Night Court went off the air.
Why do I feel like that? I like Dan Larroquette.
I thought the John Larroquette show was actually very brilliant. It comes up again in a really fun way. Okay,
I like John Larroquette. I thought he was hysterical.
What it was is that in I think it was in the 3rd season's pilot or in the first episode, he calls an old friend of his, Frasier, at the radio station in Seattle.
Okay.
And so it's he actually goes live on the air with Frasier.
Okay.
So Frasier has gone over. That's what I'm talking about. Like, so that means that Cheers, the Tortellis, Frasier, Wings, the John Larroquette Show, and The Simpsons are all in the same universe.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we move on to the Golden Girls.
Okay.
Because the Golden Girls, like I said, they spun off Empty Nest,
Yeah.
which spun off Nurses.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about it is that Sophia appeared on all of those shows. The character of Sophia.
Yeah.
The other thing that happened in that was that there was, because those shows all took place in Miami.
Yeah.
One, because they were all, it's a different time that we live in now. Those were big shows on Saturday night.
Yeah.
It's a different time. It's in the 80s. One weekend, there was a hurricane in this universe. there was a hurricane that hit Miami, and all 3 shows dealt with it.
Oh, okay.
This hurricane was going on. Okay, so, not only that, it wasn't just Sophia that appeared in all those, but like Rose appeared on an episode of Empty Nest. And this, it was also one of those things that the Empty Nest, that those characters were the next door neighbors for the Golden Girls.
Yeah.
That's how they spun that whole thing off. Now, something else that's interesting, Sophia appeared not the actress. Why can't I remember her name now? It kills me because I love the Golden Girls. But the character of Sophia appeared in an episode of Blossom.
Okay.
So that means that Blossom happens in the same universe as the Golden Girls, Empty Nest, and Nurses.
Okay. Okay.
Another one. This is you ever watch 30 Rock?
Not really.
Okay.
It wasn't really
But the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
Yeah,
it happens in the same universe. Yeah. There's one character that has appeared in that's appeared in both shows. That's kind of here's one that's pretty interesting. You remember the show Raising Hope that was on?
I remember hearing about it. I didn't really.
In the very first episode of Raising Hope.
Okay.
When you're coming in and you're showing them, kind of going through the house, and everything, and the television's on in the background.
Yeah.
And you hear a newscaster say, and up next we have a story about a man with a really long, what does it say? Of course I can't now. I can't remember the exact phrasing. Basically saying a guy with a really long list of wrongs that he's trying to make right and finally finished his list.
Okay.
My name is Earl.
Yeah.
That's like, okay, so these two exist in the same universe.
Yeah.
Now they're actually, because some of the people that worked on Raising Hope worked on My Name is Earl as well, and there's a bunch of references to the actual show. Yeah. Of it being a television, because there's one of them where they meet somebody, one of them meets somebody who was like an exec at NBC. It's like, oh, you're the one that canceled My Name is Earl, and he punches him in the stomach. It's one of those situations. It's like, but the fact that he actually takes place in the same universe.
Yeah.
Here's one I know you're going to know.
Okay.
Jag.
Oh, NCIS.
NCIS was DiNozzo.
Yeah.
Was a character that had appeared
on Jag.
And
that spun off several.
And there's
shows.
NCIS LA and and
what, New Orleans.
Is NCIS New Orleans or is this? It is? Okay. And I know there was...
because it had Scott Bakula playing the...
Was that NCIS?
Yeah.
That wasn't CSI?
No, that was NCIS.
Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't... Again,
because he and Harm were old buddies.
Okay. That's fine. I knew that there was a couple...
Not Harm. Gibbs. Yeah.
I know that there was several... I knew there were several spin-offs there, and of course CSI, you get into that, and all of those are in the same universe. They had all kinds of crossovers. I won't even get into all the...
The NCIS are better.
Yeah, you had the CSI, then you had CSI New York, you had CSI Miami, you had CSI Cyber. Yeah, I mean, it just went on and on and on and on and on. All right, this is one you're probably not going to know. And I didn't get to this. You remember Drake and Josh that was on Nickelodeon?
Vaguely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah.
iCarly spun off of that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, iCarly and the show Victorious happened in the same universe. They had crossovers between the two of them. And Sam and Cat was actually a spinoff from both of those shows. So, I mean, I know that's one of the kids, but I remember when Emmy was watching all that stuff, I was like, oh, wait a second. This is, even before they had the crossover, I was like, I recognize that these are some of the same stuff they say in here happens over here. And this one character that was a minor guest spot over here winds up over in this one also. I mean, it was just you could trace all that. Home Improvement again. Okay, there was another show that had a crossover with it. It was a very short-lived show called Soul Man. Okay, that was a Dan Aykroyd vehicle, where he was a minister whose wife had died.
Oh, I remember that show.
Because him and Al are hanging out, type thing, and it's kind of one of those. So it's like, okay, these shows cross over.
Yeah.
Do we even want to get into Star Trek? Because we could go down. Again, it's kind of like NCI or like CSI or whatever. But
Although I will say that the wife did spring for CBS All Access.
Oh, yeah, so you got all that. You can watch all that.
And the new Discovery and the new Picard are just excellent.
I've been interested in Picard more than I have Discovery. But at the same time,
I was too. But then we watched Discovery, and I was like, "Wow, this is actually really good."
Okay, so
and what's funny, going back to Dazed and Confused, the blonde with the glasses, the nerd. What's his name? You know who I'm talking about. Come on. Dazed and Confused. Hung around with the redhead and.
Oh, you're talking about Anthony Rapp.
Anthony Rapp.
Yep.
Plays a character on Discovery.
Cool. One of the reasons I pulled this up. Okay. Something that we talked about in one of our first episodes.
Okay.
The X-Files. Again, we're going back to this.
Yeah.
The
Lone Gunman.
No, it's not the Lone Gunman. We know that was a spinoff. Chris Carter also had a show called Millennium.
Yes.
That came out. It premiered in 96 and ended in 99. It didn't quite make it to the Millennium.
Yeah.
They did that next season of the X-Files, as they were coming up on the Millennium, they actually had Frank Black appear. Now, it completely had nothing to actually do with the show. Like the way the story they told on that episode, it was like, what is going on here? This has nothing to do with anything we saw in 3 seasons on the other show. But one that was really cool that they had a crossover with was Jose Chung.
Yeah.
Because you remember we watched Jose Chung's From Outer Space. He appeared in one other episode of the X-Files. And then he was in season 2 of Millennium in an episode called Doomsday Defense, which is a complete send-up of Scientology. And that is the last thing Jose Chung shows up in. And we're going to watch that at some point and talk about it. I'm not going to tell you what happens, but
I actually need to find a place to watch Millennium.
I've got the box set in there of all 3 seasons.
Okay,
and it's one of those things that I would love for us to start watching some Millennium and talking about it.
Okay,
because it's a show I guarantee you would like. Okay, I'm gonna run fast through some of these because here's a good one. We found out in the very last episode of Newhart that it's in the same universe as the Bob Newhart show.
Yeah.
Because he wakes up in bed with Suzanne Plachette. And it's like...
I had the most horrible nightmare.
Yeah. An innkeeper in New England. Okay. Family Ties.
Family Ties.
There was a show that came on. It was only on for maybe a season or 2 called Day by Day. Okay,
I think I remember
Julia Louis-Dreyfus was in it. Like, it was an early role for her. Well, the main character. Well, the thing about it is that Michael Gross as Stephen Keaton came over. Like, that took place in St. Louis. Him and remember when they had the other kid, Andy, the little they came to town because they were college buddies, and so it's one of those things that they So that was, again, I know we're kind of getting into some minutiae on some of these, but then you get like the David E. Kelly universe.
Okay.
Ally McBeal, The Practice.
Yeah.
Boston Legal, because that was a spinoff of The Practice.
Yeah.
Boston Public.
Yeah.
And Gideon's Crossing all took place in Boston.
Yeah.
In the same universe, because they all wound up, different characters wound up on each show. So that's kind of cool. Same thing with what you get in on NBC right now. We got Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, Chicago Med.
Yeah.
There was Chicago Justice that was only a 1-year season, and there was a. The thing is that in all of those, even before they really started crossing over, like actually having characters come over, there was a place called Molly's. It was a bar that you would see in different series of the same characters would show up and all that. And Chicago PD actually did a crossover with Law and Order SVU.
Oh,
so those are all in the same universe.
Okay.
Oh, no, we're going to go deep here in a minute on something of like, you've got to be kidding me, okay?
Sure, okay.
ER.
Yeah.
There was a show called Third Watch that used to be on the air.
Yeah, I remember that one.
That was a crossover. And then there was also one called Medical Investigation.
That one I don't remember.
But that, again, there was a crossover between all three of those, all happen in the same universe. You go back to the TGI Friday, or TGIF stuff, okay?
Yeah.
Of course, Family Matters, okay?
Yeah.
Urkel was on Full House.
Yeah.
And he was on Step by Step.
Yeah.
And then, so that means that those universes are all the same. And then, I forget who it was, but one of the characters from Full House, or vice versa. Remember Hanging with Mr. Cooper? It was. I
remember the show. I didn't really watch it.
Yeah. Anyways, that had a crossover with Full House as well.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. Okay, all of those are in the same universe.
Yeah.
Do I have anything else here before we move on? Because it's getting ready to get deep.
You've been saying that for like the last 5 minutes.
Oh, no. See, here's the thing. Oh, here's a good one.
Yeah, okay.
And this is the precursor. Oh, actually, there's two of them here.
All right. Hit me.
Beverly Hills 90210.
Melrose Place.
Mm-hmm. And?
There was another one. The Heights.
No.
I was thinking that was...
The Heights was not. It was the same. It was Aaron Spelling, but it wasn't.
Okay.
It wasn't. I think I'm missing one in here because there was a Melrose Place spinoff, Models Inc.
Yeah.
That happened in that, but that's what I was missing. But no, 90210, the one that came back in 2009.
Yeah.
Because they brought back some of the characters, Kelly and Brenda and all that came up. But the thing is that one of the main cast, because they were all they would come in and out, but one of the main cast was, she went by the name of Silver in the show, but it was Aaron Silver that was Kelly and David's stepsister.
Yeah.
Because they're Kelly's mom and David's dad got married and had a kid, so that was but she was a teenager in that one, so there was all of this.
Yeah. And 90210 is kind of your jam anyway.
I love that show. As goofy as it is, I love that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Admittedly, I didn't know all of this until recently.
Okay.
But this is a good one.
All right.
Okay. One of my favorite toy lines and cartoons from actually several of them in here, Inhumanoids.
Okay.
Started off on a show called Super Sunday cartoon show or something like that. Basically what they did, I'm getting to it, okay, because this one goes deep. Okay?
I'm listening to you geek out. Put your geek on.
It started off and it's saying, and basically what it was is that they had 4 cartoons that they would run 3 of them per episode, and they would only show like 6 minutes or something like that. Basically to the first commercial break, and then they'd come back with a different show, and then they come to the next commercial break, and then they'd come back with a different show. It was a half hour or an hour, whatever it was. It was Jim and the Holograms.
Yeah.
Inhumanoids.
Okay.
Robotics.
Okay.
And Bigfoot and the Monster Machines.
Okay.
Okay. Robotics and Bigfoot and the Monster Machines never got picked up beyond the episodes for that. Of course, we know Jim and the Holograms went on to run for many seasons after that. And Humanoids only ran for 1 season beyond what was on there.
But the toy line was huge.
The toy line wasn't huge. Huge as in they were big toys.
Yeah.
But the toy line only had one series of toys. But it's saying now they're like really collectors. I've got a couple of them. But here's the thing. Sunbow Entertainment that did this.
Yeah.
Also did some other prominent. Okay. So here we go. Inhumanoids.
Yeah.
Jim and the Holograms.
Mm-hmm.
G.I. Joe.
Okay.
And the Transformers.
Yeah.
All had a character named Hector Ramirez that appeared on those shows.
Okay.
He was legitimately, the producers said he was a send-up of Geraldo Rivera. He was a kind of a tabloid television type thing, which means that All of those shows happen in the same universe.
You would think that G.I. Joe would have to go take care of some Decepticons.
Or giant monsters,
Yeah.
But there's one better.
Okay.
One of the characters they never made a toy of in Humanoids, but he was a character that appeared on the show.
Yeah.
His name was Brad J. Armbruster. Okay. He was a Air Force fighter pilot.
Yeah.
That had and the thing is that all the Earth Corps had all these suits that they wore, these big whatever. Anyways, he was in a plane crash, and they made him a suit out of, he couldn't get out. He was hurt really bad, and they made a suit out of the jet that he was in, and he became another member of the Earth Corps.
Okay.
Brad J. Armbruster is the real name of Ace, who flew the Sky Striker in G.I. Joe.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. There you go.
That's where we're starting to get into that deep, but I'm getting ready to do you one better.
Is the airplane Starscream?
No, that would be kind of awesome. But just the fact that all of those happen in the same universe and have not just this one minor character, but it's no, you have one of a major G.I. Joe character who goes over into this other series. Okay. Are you ready to hear about Detective John Munch?
Okay.
Do you know who Detective John Munch is?
Just remind me.
Detective John Munch is played by oh God. Of course now I can't remember his name.
You need a magic witch box?
Oh, I shouldn't. He's a comedian. Belzer.
Brian?
No, I cannot believe that his name is escaping me now. Now that I've got through all of this, I cannot remember his name. And
you blanked out. You had all that other information in your head, and it pushed this one name out of your gray matter.
I'm going to kick myself as soon as I see his... Richard Belzer.
There you go.
Comedian Richard Belzer.
There you go.
All right. Here we go. Detective John Munch was originally introduced on a show called Homicide: Life on the Streets.
Okay.
When that show was canceled,
just by the title, it should have been.
But that ran for several years.
Yeah.
Okay. That character went over and he's on Law and Order SVU.
Yeah.
Okay. He's been on that everything, but he also appeared on Law and Order Straight Up.
Yeah.
Okay. All those Law and Order shows.
All those Law and Orders, they all intertwine.
It gets better. Detective John Munch appeared in an episode of Arrested Development.
Are you kidding me?
No. He also appeared in an episode of The X-Files.
Okay.
He was on a show, it was a short-lived called The Beat that was on UPN.
Okay.
He was on Law and Order Trial by Jury.
That's just another Law and Order.
Detective John Munch appeared in The Wire.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And Detective John Munch was mentioned on the BBC show Luther.
I've never even heard of that.
And it's one of those things where he's mentioned I have a friend in New York, Detective John Munch. So that means that the Law and Order stuff, Arrested Development,
X-Files.
The X-Files, The Beat, The Wire, and Luther.
Okay. Are all in the same universe.
All in the same universe. Now, there are a couple other that I didn't write down here because they're kind of ancillary stuff where, he was on 30 Rock, but it was Richard Belzer, but he was playing that character, but it was actually a spin-off, it was a fake TV show starring that character that Richard Belzer was doing. There's stuff like that where it's it's not really the character, it's Belzer playing that type of...
Yeah.
Basically what Wikipedia says about this, he has appeared in 10 different shows on 7 networks.
Oh my.
That is insane.
That's pretty good with a guy with the last name of Munch.
I know, and no one else but one person is getting that joke right now.
I know, but it's torturing him, and I'm enjoying it.
Now, there is one other one. There's one other one I'm going to get into here.
Sure.
You remember when there was must-see TV?
Yeah.
Okay, and of course there were several different iterations of must-see.
Yeah.
But in the mid-'90s, when must-see TV on Thursday night was kind of in its prime. I mean, like, and it's like we rule everything.
Yeah.
There were 4 shows that were on the air. 2 of them were huge. One of them was pretty big, and the other one only lasted a couple of seasons, but it was a lead-in.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm going to start with the first one.
Sure.
There was this little show called Seinfeld.
Oh, yeah.
That was on the air. You have Elaine.
Yeah.
You have
Kramer.
You have George. You have Jerry.
There's a Festivus.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. Cosmo Kramer.
Yes.
Used to live in an apartment outside of the building that he lives in now.
Okay.
And Paul and Jamie on Mad About You moved into that apartment after he moved out.
Nice.
And Kramer came back one day, like shows up knocking on the door, and like he's in an episode where
yeah.
All right, cool.
I liked Mad About You.
Mad About You, they used to go to this diner. They
Yeah.
loved, they would go to. And they had this crazy waitress. Her name was Ursula.
Yeah.
Played by, who was it played by?
I don't remember.
Sure you do.
No.
Ursula. Lisa Kudrow played her.
Oh, okay. So
Hold on. Phoebe has a twin sister named Ursula.
Yeah.
Same Ursula. Because in the first season of Friends,
Yeah.
there's an episode where Jamie and her sister come into Central Perk.
Yeah.
And they see Phoebe and think that it's Ursula.
And turn around and walk out. I think
Exactly.
I remember that.
Okay, it keeps going.
Yeah.
The other show that was on one of the shows, it was a show called The Single Guy.
Okay.
That it had Jonathan Silverman was the main character. Okay.
Okay.
Ross Geller was on an episode.
Okay.
It wasn't David, whatever his name is.
Schwimmer.
It was actually Ross Geller.
Okay.
The whole episode, and so it was one of those things that you have Friends, Mad About You, Seinfeld, and The Single Guy.
All in the same universe.
All in the same universe. Of course, they're all in New York. So, but it's one of those things where you had all these crossovers. Now, there was other stuff, like there is a stretch of a maybe Caroline in the City was in this because Leah Thompson wound up in an episode of Friends, but but they never say that she's Caroline.
Yeah.
It's just, and then there's like in an episode of Caroline in the City, Chandler,
Matthew Perry
appears and acts very Chandler-like, but we've never told that it's Chandler. Yeah. It's there's some stuff like that where
I can see why you thought I should know Ursula, but I didn't ever really watch Friends.
Yeah,
I get vague references.
Right.
And I was once insulted by somebody telling me that I was a lot like Chandler. And I was like, well, I guess I should watch an episode of Friends to see what it was. And the episode that I caught was the one where he gets caught in the bathroom and has to walk out in his woman
in a thong.
Yeah,
that was Julia Roberts. Yeah.
And I was quadruply insulted then because I have never had to do that.
That's actually a really funny episode because that's one of those. So you watched the so you remember she was someone he went to school with and he had made fun of her.
Yeah.
And he didn't recognize her, and so she'd been waiting all these years for payback,
revenge, and got it. Yeah.
So yeah,
I still look over my shoulder because of that episode.
The thing is there are actually some more TGIF crossovers, like with Boy Meets World and Sabrina, the Teenage Witch, and stuff like that. Which is
the
old one with Melissa Joan Hart, and as well as some other stuff.
The family friendly version.
Very very considering, but it's one of those things where again you start going into the whole so that means that magic's real in this universe, and all that kind of stuff. But those are some I always like this kind of stuff where it's hey, this there's also the whole even beyond what you were talking about the
The CW,
like the CW stuff.
superhero.
But one of the things I did like about that is how what is the one something of tomorrow, the Heroes of Tomorrow or whatever it is, the other
Legends of Tomorrow.
Legends of Tomorrow, the spinoff.
Yeah.
That John Constantine came onto that, and it was actually the guy that played him in the NBC TV show that was canceled.
There's actually
which
been
shouldn't
rumors,
have been because that was a great show.
Oh, it's a great show, but there's been rumors that
they're bringing it back.
That CW is going to bring it back.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I know they did
but
those.
Technically, those are all DC comics,
I
so
know,
they're all in the same
I know.
universe.
Technically. Now, I do know they've done some really cool stuff. I've never watched those shows, but I do know that they're all, because they are DC.
Well, they were all in alternative timelines,
right? And then they brought them in,
or on different worlds. There's Earth 1, Earth 3, Earth, and then they had.
Didn't they do a Crisis on Infinite Earths kind of thing where they brought in like Brandon Routh played Superman?
Yes,
and they did a couple of things like
and
that.
They did pretty good. Yeah. They did. Of course, nothing's
which
ever
is funny because he plays a character on Legends of Tomorrow, so it's.
Well, that was the funny part. Is that he already playing a character on Legends of Tomorrow, and he has to come back and play Superman on top of it. And they're like, "Wow, you two really look alike."
Did you ever watch the show Partners? It only lasted one season. It was on CBS.
No,
it had what's her name? Sophia Bush was in it, and a couple. But Brandon Routh was on it, and it was the whole deal where like. I can't remember the other two, like the two actual main characters' names. They'd been friends since they were kids. They worked at the same like company and all that kind of stuff. They were roommates. One of them was gay. One of them was straight. The guy that was dating Sophia Bush, but they'd been friends since they were little kids. Well, what was funny is that the other one's boyfriend was Brandon Routh, and there was one episode where. They were doing something. The guy's name was Lewis. The character's name was Lewis, and I can't remember what Brandon Routh's name was, but it was one of those things where he's sitting there, and there's like he had a pair of glasses or whatever, and like Brandon Routh puts the glasses on. He's like, "Oh man, you look way different than like I would barely even recognize you." And he goes, "Oh, thanks, Lois." What, Lewis? I mean, it's just and I was like, it was one of those like, okay, that's pretty funny,
Now this is I would have liked to have seen this happen because those CW shows they all kind of play with each other. Well, you've got Supernatural, which is a show about two brothers that go around chasing the supernatural and killing it and all that. Well, the CW also had a show called Vampire Diaries.
Right.
And
I watched a little bit of the Vampire Diaries when it first came on.
Well, I can't think of his name. The guy that plays Dean at one of the cons was like, I really, really want that when they cancel Vampire Diaries. The last scene of the show, I want to just see us rolling into town.
Nice. Well, I almost put Supernatural on this in the crossover in a section called crossovers that almost happened.
Yeah,
because there were two big crossovers that almost happened with Supernatural over the years. One of them, they were trying really hard to go to Crystal Lake and have a Jason Voorhees, like a legit, and they couldn't get to. And the other one, they were trying to get Elijah Dushku to come on and actually be Faith from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh, that
would have been really cool. Like, okay, that would have been awesome to see her play that character again.
Yeah.
I didn't. Obviously, with Buffy, you have Buffy and Angel, and
that show did have one legitimate crossover. Though.
Which one?
Scooby Doo.
Oh, they did, dude. If you want to get into crossovers with Scooby Doo, that just goes on and on and on and on and on and on.
They did a legitimate. They literally got sucked into a magical TV into a Scooby Doo episode, and the whole show's animated until they get put back out of the TV, and it was hysterical because they proved to the Scooby Doo gang that monsters are real. Fred and the gang start getting seriously injured.
Oh yeah.
And then after it's all, they have to save the Scooby gang, and then they have to convince them that no, it was all.
There was a really bizarre in the early 2000s crossover event that was multimedia. Marvel Comics had a crossover with General Hospital.
Really?
I'm not even joking. There was an episode where it was a whole deal where and it was one of those like somebody got superpowers, and type stuff, but it wound up to be a dream or whatever.
Yeah.
But they kind of hinted that maybe it wasn't. But there were actually Marvel comics that had the characters from General Hospital in there as well.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it was, I don't know. Again, it was kind of one of those things of, why are you trying to cross over with a much older audience?
Well, they were probably trying to gain market share.
I don't know, but
that's the reason you do something like that, is to tap into a different market.
There's some weird stuff like that. Like I said, I didn't even get into Buffy and Angel. That's
good.
Both. And the thing is that again, there was a comic that Joss Whedon did towards the end of Buffy.
Yeah.
That was called Frey, that was set in the future. It was like a future Slayer that introduced, because I know you've watched all of Buffy, it introduced the scythe that she gets at the end of like where they give all the girls the Slayer. That's where that piece was introduced.
Okay.
Was there, and then later when they started doing the he did the continuation in comic book form, there was a point where Buffy went to the future and had a crossover with Frey.
Oh, okay.
So you're getting into a whole lot more stuff there. It's but I guarantee you, I probably could have kept digging and found more and more and more and more and more and more. But I thought this would be more than enough to get an hour's out of, And especially when I got into that Detective John Munch thing, because where it was like,
Munch.
Oh my God, I cannot believe that.
Yeah.
All of these shows are connected because of this one character.
Yeah.
Now I do know that because of that, the guy, and I wish I could remember all this off the top of my head, and I didn't do my research. I wasn't even going to mention it, but I kind of feel like I have to. The same guy that was the producer on Law and Order and Homicide and all that kind of stuff also produced St. Elsewhere and Hill Street Blues and a couple of that stuff.
One of the great TV theme songs.
And he has gone on record as saying they all happen in the same universe. Which, if you saw the final episode of St. Elsewhere, that puts a whole different connotation on what he's saying.
Yeah.
Do you remember the last episode?
I don't, but...
it was the whole thing about this hospital and, all that kind of stuff. And at the very end of it, they show it's in Chicago, St. Elsewhere,
Yeah.
And they pull out, and they're showing it snowing.
Yeah.
And it pulls out, and it keeps pulling out, and all of a sudden you realize that you're looking at a snow globe with this hospital inside of it, and there's, all the snow going around. And they had introduced a character. One of the doctors in the show had a son who was autistic.
Yeah.
They introduced him in the show. When it pulls out, it's him sitting there looking at this snow globe, just staring at it. And then it pulls back, and you see that doctor and the chief surgeon, who is which in the show wasn't, but is his dad.
Yeah.
And he's just come back from work, and the dad's getting ready, and he was like, "Hey, what's going on?" And he's like, "Anything changed?" He says something to him. He's like, "Anything changed today?" He's like, "Nope." He's just sitting there staring at that snow globe like he does all day long, every day. And you realize that everything that you had watched was happening in this kid's head, staring at this snow globe.
Wow. I may have to go back and rewatch some old TV.
And so when you say that, well, if all this other stuff happens in this universe, then none of it actually happened either. Which X-Files and Arrested Development and all of this, The Wire, all of this stuff doesn't actually exist.
So somehow somebody tapped into your brain to see what's going on.
Weird thing, of like, okay, this gets into some strange stuff. Anyways, now that you've indulged us for an hour, actually indulged me for an hour talking about, because I love television.
Yeah, he does.
I watch entirely too much television. Oh, here's an interesting one for you. This was hinted at, but never actually was proven.
Okay.
Lost.
Yeah, here we go again.
And Heroes are supposed to have happened in the same universe.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Supposedly.
What's the connection?
I don't know. That's the whole thing. It was just the what's the guy's name that did Heroes? because he was friends with J.J. Abrams, and it was one of those things that maybe J.J. Abrams actually produced Heroes, if I'm going to think about it. But it was one of those things where they talked about that they were trying to figure out how the two happen in the same universe, which kind of makes sense when you get into all the supernatural stuff that happens over on Lost and then all the crazy stuff that happens on Heroes. Of course, Heroes only had one good season, and you know,
it really did. But
that first season,
I watched it until they canceled it, and then when they brought it back, I didn't bother.
I tried. I watched about half of one episode when they brought it back. I was like, this is unwatchable. I was sitting there watching, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember I stopped watching this show in the second season because of this exact same crap. So.
Yeah. It's not TV, but a universe that kind of shocked me when I realized what was going on was Unbreakable.
Oh yeah, Unbreakable, and then Split, and then of course it was Mr. Glass.
Yeah,
you know? But that was that reveal at the end of Split was, I mean, caught so many people off guard.
Oh, it did me. I was like, what the?
I know, that was like, what?
It was like,
wow.
I thought that was a one-off, and then all of a sudden we have the possibility for a trilogy.
The thing is that he had been talking for a while about wanting to do a sequel to Unbreakable.
Yeah,
and no one had any clue that Split was a sequel at all until it hit theaters, and then all of a sudden it was like, holy crap, you know.
Yeah.
And then they went ahead with Mr. Glass after that and really screwed it all up. So
I don't know. I enjoyed Mr. Glass. I enjoyed it.
But yeah, that reveal at the end of Split was pretty spectacular. To keep something like that, I mean, of course, I'm not saying it here because but to keep that under wraps the way that they did was pretty awesome.
Like, because I wasn't going to even bother with that movie. I was like, it's one of those split personality horror movie kidnap things.
If you wanted to get into movies, you get into the whole Jack Ryan thing because there's so many of those. I mean, you had Hunt for Red October,
which is really the best of the bunch of them.
Hunt for Red October, and then you had
I don't know, the one they did with Chris Pine was actually pretty good.
Clear and Present Danger, and then
Air Force One.
Oh no, excuse me, it was Patriot Games, Clear and Present Danger, and then
Air Force One.
Air Force One is not a Jack Ryan movie.
Are you sure about that?
Yep. And then it was the Sum of All Fear, the one with Ben Affleck, and then they did the Jack Ryan, the one with Chris Pine, and now they have a television series with John Krasinski.
The that's an Amazon Prime thing.
Yeah,
and they've got two
seasons
out,
so far,
and I don't think they're going to do a third season, which is really disappointing.
But that's in the course of you've got 4 different people play.
Yeah, Jack Ryan.
5 counting Krasinski. So anyway, but we're kind of really getting.
Nope, you're right.
Yeah,
no, you're right.
Air Force One was not a. He plays the president in that.
I was thinking. Yeah, you're right.
Now, maybe later we'll do a spinoff episode of this and do movie universes that are
Marvel.
Well, not even the obvious ones. I'm talking about stuff that you're like, oh, I never realized. Yeah. Because there have been several of those.
All of the Quentin Tarantino stuff has been tied together to the same.
Have you seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Not yet.
All right, you're taking that one with you too when you leave here.
All right,
because that I rewatched it again, like not that long ago. It is a almost perfect movie.
Okay,
I mean it is just brilliant. I'm not even gonna start dropping any knowledge about connected universes because there's one big one that you're gonna be like, no.
Okay.
So anyways, thanks for listening. Thanks for indulging us for this last hour and some change.
And we've got a new kind of central location for all the stuff where we're going to be adding to.
There is a link to caffeineandsleepingpills.com that is in the description. You can just click right on it. It'll take you right there. And that's kind of our new hub for everything. It's going to have all our podcasts. It's going to have articles. It's going to have, I've got one I'll talk to you off air that I pitched to somebody today.
Oh, no.
And,
oh no!
Yeah, kind of. But it's going to kind of be fun, too.
Okay.
And as well as we're going to work on some videos, and we're going to do several things. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
So just keep checking there. I've right now I'm the only one writing on it, but
he keeps trying to get me to write.
I've been trying to keep it as up to date as I can. I mean, it's just me, and I have I'm a single parent, and so sometimes it's not as easy as I'd like to.
Yeah.
But it's going to be pop culture everything. And so, go and check that out, caffeineandsleepingpills.com.
I guess we could throw some movie reviews on there.
I know. I very much plan on doing that kind of stuff, especially once movies finally come back.
Nah, they're not coming back. It's all going to be direct to...
I'm fine with that as well, because I have been wanting for years to be able to sit in my own comfy chair on my television and watch the newest movies that come out without having to deal with other people.
Yeah,
and it's more of that. It's less like I enjoy going to the theater.
Yeah,
I really do. I do not enjoy going to the theater with other people.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
But we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on Parler.
It's Parler. That's how it's pronounced.
Well, whatever.
I know it's spelled Parler. It's a French word. It's Parler.
Oh well, I'm getting off of that then. I didn't realize it was French.
It's pronounced Parler, and I know it's spelled Parler, but it's pronounced. All right, don't be the ugly American here, okay? Just go with it.
I'm pronouncing it like a pirate.
There you Parler. Anyway, so go and check out caffeineandsleepingpills.com. There are links to everything.
Yeah,
there as
Facebook, all that stuff.
All that. Parler is not up there yet because they haven't made a button for it. So, but we'll work on it. Anyways.
Oh well, you don't. It's like Twitter. You don't have a button. You have.
There's a Twitter button.
Well,
there is. It'll come around eventually because there's one for that. There's one for Tumblr. There's even one for Flickr, which I always forget about Flickr.
Flickr?
Yeah, you remember Flickr?
No.
It was kind of like Instagram before Instagram. And
okay.
So anyway,
sure,
guys, thank you so much for indulging me in this episode, because this kind of was a vanity project for myself because I love it. Like I said, I love this kind of stuff. And we'll be back with another episode soon. My name is Alan Smith.
I am Big Dave.
And you have a good one.